All right, good morning and welcome to the October 14th, 2025 Finance Committee meeting for the Lee Summit School District. We'll begin with item 1.01, contracts $15,000 and under. This is, as in past months, fairly typical for the time of year. We have some book fairs on here, a lot of activities, judging of band festivals, some reading support, author visits, MOU for student teaching. So just a lot of typical items we would see on the list for this time of year. Are there any questions about the items that are on this list?
No questions here.
All right. Thank you. Moving on to 1.02. Contracts greater than $15,000. There are 5 items on this list, 3 of which we will discuss later in the meeting. Are there any questions about the other 2? One is related to the high school graduations at Cable Dahmer, and the other is related to our relationship with Head Start through Mid-America Regional Council. Both of these items have been items that we've engaged in the past, so these are renewals for the school district.
The only question I had on this was for the Mid-America Head Start. I just didn't know if anything had changed over time, if the funding is still secure from where they get their funding.
At this point in time, it is, but we will see what future years hold, future allocations.
Okay, but for this year, we know that they have the money to pay it.
That's our understanding at this point.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to 1.03, Midway Freightliner refrigerant truck. Mrs. Battaglia.
Well, apparently video is not working for me. You can hear me all right, though.
We can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. We have a need in purchasing and distribution for a new refrigerated truck. This is a scheduled budgeted item in capital, and it is kind of a turnkey project for us. We have always worked with Midway Ford Truck Center and have either purchased our vehicles from them on either the joint vehicle bid co-op that our local chapter provides for us, or on the Missouri State Co-op. This year, when we were working with them on a Ford truck, we, by the direction and recommendation of our transportation director, decided to look at a Freightliner truck. So we had already gotten a quote from Midway Ford for a Ford model, and then in working with them for the Freightliner, discovered that that was actually going to be cheaper, and it is the same engine that we have in our school buses. So that is a plus for our transportation staff that work on our trucks. It gives us more, flexibility for them. It's more of a standardized engine and one that they're able to work on better and are more familiar with. So we decided to pivot and go with the Freightliner vehicle. You will see that we've attached 3 quotes. We also reached out to MHS, which is another trucking company. They had one available on their lot. However, it was 2 years old and it didn't really have a lot of the features that we were looking for or that are standard on our refrigerated trucks. So that was our 3rd quote for this vehicle. They will be not only providing the chassis, they will provide work with the company that builds the refrigerated box and unit, and then will also install the lift gate that we need for that particular vehicle. So We are requesting that you give us permission to go forward with the purchase of this vehicle for $175,198. I will also let you know that because of what the trends that we were seeing up to the point that we budgeted for this vehicle, we had budgeted for $240,000 for a new refrigerated truck. So this one is coming in much lower than we expected. And it is also coming in much, a little bit lower than the Ford that we had gotten a quote on through the co-op. Any questions?
No questions here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Battaglia. 1.04, Izzy B, the author visit. And this is Mrs. Taylor or Dr. Barker.
Hi, so Izzy B is an author, a Missouri author, and he is coming to our elementary schools with his illustrator. They plan to go to each middle school for a half day where they'll see all classes K through 6. Our elementary schools try to host an author visit at least every other year. And so this is the year for Izzy B. The book that he'll be talking about the most is The Mighty McCracken, which is a book about manners, and hopefully he'll also talk about being a writer and in illustrations. So, any questions?
No questions here. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Taylor. 1.05, ADP workforce and HR path time and attendance system upgrade. Dr. Herzog.
Good morning. This item is in relation to our time and attendance system for our employees. I'm going to go through the background information to get everybody an understanding of why we're recommending we do this at this point. We started working with Workforce in 2006, and we have been very happy with their product since then. So happy that in 2017, we made a decision as a district to cease our operating agreement with Workforce, and we decided to host this entire system ourselves on an older server that we have in the district. That has turned out to be a very good decision from a cost standpoint. We have been able to save, and this is a conservative estimate, over $600,000 during that time by doing this. I say conservative because I'm assuming that $69,000 we were paying in 2017 would have been flat. It's unlikely that would have been the case. It likely would have gone up over time. So we've saved at least $622,800 during that time. So the reason why we're recommending we make a switch back to having the system hosted through Workforce is because we're at a point where that server and our current method is at end of life. We currently cannot allow the system to operate outside of LSR7. So our employees who utilize this for leave specifically, and our timekeepers who approve leave using the system cannot access this unless they are within the system. Within the LSR7 network. That poses some challenges. I'll get to those in a minute about why. Additionally, the system could very well crash at any time, and we are not in a position to likely be able to continue services with this if it were to crash. We've been able to get by so far, but we feel it's time to move forward with a better option for our district. So our recommendation is to continue with Workforce through a feasible source agreement. So we've processed this through purchasing, as well as Dr. Shelton's office, where we feel like this system, if we were to go away from it, would be a large enough issue for the school district because of the number of employees that utilize it. We feel like we should stay with this system. We've worked with ADP, which is the company that purchased Workforce in 2024, to outline a timeline of implementation, as well as a cost structure just to move over. So we feel like, HR Path and ADP. So HR Path is the company who would handle the implementation and movement of our data from our current server over to a hosted server through their companies. So our data would now be housed in the cloud. It would no longer be on a standalone server that we would manage here. And there is a cost savings to that, actually. and I'll get to that in a moment. They would now manage this data. They feel like they can do this project in 17 weeks. So 17 weeks to move our data over into a new system. That's a pretty fast timeline, but we like that idea. And then ADP, once that data is in the new system, it's been tested, and we feel comfortable with it, then they would then manage services with us moving forward. So they would then be able to service the system, do upgrades for us, manage any issues that we could not handle on our own at that point. So this is going to be a cost increase to the district because we are currently not paying for this service. So to move this system over, to move all of our data over to the upgraded version and to all of our policies, all of our rules, everything we have in the system would be $289,892. I'm sorry, $249,640. Then ADP would then continue services with us annually at an annual cost of $120,553. So that would be prorated this year because we're not going to start with them until March. Once we're through all the implementation and everything is worked through, they'll start charging us in March through the end of the fiscal year this year. So this year would only be a cost to ADP of $40,252. So those are the cost increases. There are cost savings associated with this that I do want to highlight that aren't necessarily in this background. So the first cost savings is we are currently paying for a server to house this data, and that is an annual cost of around $40,000 a year. We would no longer need to spend those dollars on that server space moving forward. So our technology department has told us that we could then remove that $40,000 cost in the future. The second piece to this is because of the increased options to our employees in terms of utilizing the system off network and some other changes we've made in the payroll department, we can and we have reduced down one position in payroll through attrition. So no one has lost a position, but through attrition, we are not replacing a position. So that is a cost savings to the district of an employee that will no longer need because of this change as well, an ongoing cost. So there are cost benefits to this, but there is a cost to move us over to this new system. But overall, I would say this is a good, even though it is expensive, it is a good change for us, and it will help us to sustain the system moving forward. And the system does, like I said, all of our non-exempt employees use this daily, and data is housed for all of our employees, regardless of their status of non-exempt or exempt in this system. So that's the background and the rationale about why we're recommending this. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I've got a few questions. So you already answered some of them. Thank you very much. So how much of this was in the budget when you drafted the fiscal year 2026 budget? How much money did we have in there for this?
So when we drafted the fiscal year budget, we had the 120,000 per year cost in the budget already. So that was budgeted there to be able to move forward with a new system. The one-time expense, the 249,640 was not necessarily in the operating budget. There is a place we can expense that, and that will still fall within budget. We'll have to make some adjustments other places, but we can do that. So only the 120,553.
Okay, so what is the trade-off? What are we giving up for the 249? Or I mean, what are we not doing or trying to save money on?
Okay, so you cut out at the beginning there, but I think I caught most of your question, which is what are we not doing because of this?
Yeah.
Nothing. So we'll still be able to do everything we were planning to do with students. This money, the money that this is going to come from, is a business services budget that has dollars available for situations like this, to be honest. So it's a budget that has money that was budgeted, but wasn't necessarily earmarked for anything in particular.
Okay. And I noticed reading through the scope of work that there's a lot of owner responsibility in terms of hours for, I'm assuming, our IT team. So did we have to like increase headcount or make any changes there that's going to affect the budget to do the 17 weeks worth of migration?
We did not. So we feel like our team and our payroll team has been involved in this from the very beginning. Our coordinator of payroll, Deanna Keller, she and the IT department feel very strongly that they, with the current staffing, with the current model, they can handle all of our side of the work that's associated with this.
Okay. And if there's any like change orders or troubleshooting that needs to be done, either during the migration or at the handoff between the end of the migration and the beginning of ADP taking over that $120,000 service plan. So that's probably not in the budget either if something were to come up. And that would come out of that business services
It would.
budget as well.
It would. So we would be able to, you are correct. Number one, that we don't have any potential change orders included in this price. This is the price if everything goes the way it should. And we actually feel very confident in that. We worked with them for a little over almost 2 months to get this scope of work to a place where both sides felt very strongly that this would be the scope of work and no changes would be needed. We also pulled out some things we felt like were unnecessary that could save the district some money in the migration as well. So I feel very confident in this number.
Okay. All right. All right. I think you answered all my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Herzog. We'll move on to section 2 and pass the baton back to you.
Wonderful. Okay. All right. Well, the finance section, we'll start with the transfer of funds. So this month is the first month where we have this is a normal transfer of funds. The July and August transfers are, as I've mentioned before, are usually much less because of the certified staff salaries that we are starting to pay at this point. So we do have almost a $4.6 million transfer, which is normal, very normal for this time of year, that we'll plan to approve at the board meeting on Thursday. Any questions on the transfer of funds?
No questions here.
Yeah. All right, moving into the treasurer's report, starting with the revenue and expense report for the month of September, ending September 30th. Okay, starting top left as we usually do, want to talk about revenues. So you'll notice in the operating fund revenue, a little over 6.5 million year to date, and then special fund revenue almost 26 million year to date. Those percentages, to me and anyone looking at this, would be a little bit concerning based on everything we know up to this point. We know we've received some extra revenue from FY25, so you would hope that these percentages would be moving ahead a little bit, and they are not. So these are explainable. I can certainly explain them. I'm not necessarily happy with the explanation, but I can explain them. So Fund 1 operating fund, the real reason we're running behind there in terms of this time last year is really local tax collection, current and delinquent taxes. We're still receiving taxes at this time of year when appeals occur. So when a patron of the community has appealed their taxes, those dollars are held in escrow until the appeal is heard and a decision is made. Once those decisions are made, then we do start receiving those funds. And the reality is we are just about $800,000 in current and delinquent taxes lower in terms of collection through September this year as we were last year. So it is all due to that. And that is something that is out of our control. We can't control those pieces, but that is truly where those dollars are lacking.
Can I interrupt you for a second with a
Absolutely.
quick question on that? So last year we were in the same boat, right? I mean, I wasn't on this committee last year, but weren't we, uh, wasn't the local government also struggling with appeals and held money? I mean,
You're spot
so
on.
I guess I'm wondering what's different this year.
You are spot on that we are in the same boat as like last year as we are this year. I cannot tell you the difference this year right now. Why? Now the reality also is we could start seeing more funds next month than we did last year. It is in flux right now, and I was talking at the last board meeting at the tax rate hearing to a member of the community who's on the Board of Equalization. He mentioned they're still hearing 2023 appeals right now. So right now there are still 2023 tax appeals that are taking place and it's tax year 20. We just have the tax rate for 2025. So this is a continuation of the tax issues that started in 2023, and they're just continuing through. So I can't answer the question about why last year and this year, why we're so much lower right now. I just know that the actual collections are lower than they were at this time last year. Again, that could change. There's no reason to say that next month we couldn't see a bump, and I'm very hopeful that we will see a bump, but I don't know that's the case. On the special revenue side, on the Fund 2, this is a continuation of what I mentioned last month with our Prop C allocation from the state of Missouri. We are currently about $1.25 million lower this year than last year. Now that is better than last month. We are trending the right direction. And as I mentioned last month, I do think that overall we are going to come in a little bit under the projection for Prop C from the state, but I do not believe it will be a $1.25 million shortfall. That will continue to get better as the year goes on, but currently it's 1.25 million less than last year. So those are really the reasons why those revenues are lagging. Again, it's explainable, certainly, but I would like to see those in a much better spot than they are right now, and we will continue to monitor that and hope that those will start to move the right direction moving forward. And I will say this about the Prop C payments: they do tend to increase as the year goes on, so we should see a bump in those as the year goes on, and then that shortfall should reduce significantly throughout the school year.
Yeah, but once again, just like we talked about with Fund 1, it should have been the same way last year. So we're still a little behind or lower than a year ago,
Yes
right?
and no. Absolutely. Yes and no. The state funded Prop C at a lower per student rate for FY26 than they did FY25. That was a known. And then if you look at basically their estimate for statewide ADA, which is the denominator in that. So they have a dollar amount as the numerator, and they have a statewide ADA as the denominator. That's how they get that per student rate. They seem to have, at least on the first couple months, underestimated the statewide ADA. So that denominator is higher than they had predicted. That's why these dollars, I believe, are lagging even more than last year.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Moving across in revenue, nothing else truly to note on the rest of the unrestricted funds. I'm sorry, the debt service, the bond, and capital projects. Those at this time of year, we do not receive a lot of revenue in those funds this time of year, and so that is to be expected moving at this point. Nutrition services, so on the restricted side, nutrition services, activity, before and after school services, I won't highlight much in those right now, other than that they are trending the way we would have expected right now, all three of those. So nothing to note right there. Any other questions on revenue?
No, thanks.
Okay, on the expense side. So last month we were trending a little bit lower in expenses, and then you'll notice this month we have kind of dipped ahead of where we were last year by about 0.6%. So not a huge increase, and most of that is in Fund 1. Most of it's in operating, and that is truly due to it's our teacher devices that we purchased. So a budgeted purchase, a one-time budgeted purchase for teacher devices, about $2.7 million we've expensed this year that we did not expense last year for teacher devices. So that was expected, and that one-time cost is going to push up that number, that percent for this month. I would expect that to stabilize in the coming months, but overall, on the expense side, like I said, other than that particular piece, everything is running the way we would have expected right now. Our Fund 2 expenses are just about 0.1% lower than they were last year at this time. So in terms of salaries and benefits, we are trending the way we would have thought at this point. Moving over, I will note this: capital projects. capital projects finally started to move the way that we would have expected through the end of the summer. So we've expensed a little over $4.3 million, and I'll get to that a little more in the balance sheet as well. But that is trending the way we would have thought, and we'll continue to expense out of that throughout the year, and then you'll see some more of those expenses as we get toward the summer months of next year. And then on the expense side for restricted, for nutrition services, activity, LSEF, and before and after school services, again, those are trending the way we would have thought right now. So I'm nothing unexpected on the restricted side. Any expense questions?
I don't have an expense question, but can I go back to revenue for a second? Can you
Most
refresh my
definitely.
memory on how much is left that we're waiting on from 2024, 2025?
Absolutely. So the only piece that we are waiting on is it's a little over $1 million from our special education Part B reimbursement. So that is the only piece, and we have submitted what's called the final expenditure report. And so once we submit the final expenditure report to the state, there's a little bit of back and forth. They ask questions, we answer them. And at some point here, I would say before the end of first semester, we will have that approved, and they will send us the remainder of those dollars. That should occur.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, on the bottom right, restricted fund balances. The only one that I'll highlight here, because we say the same things pretty much every month about activity and LSEF, that they're balance out, which they do. I always say as well that before and after school services is trending the right direction, and it certainly is. We are moving the right direction with before and after school services being in the positive now, and then trending more in the positive each month. Nutrition services, that is trending the way we had thought, which is not necessarily a great trend, but we are trending where that fund balance is about half of what it was when we started the year. So again, that is a known and something that we are trying to process through this year. But whatever we process through this year with nutrition services likely will not change the fact that fund balance is going to continue to trend outward.
Which is why you have a Pratt, right?
Most definitely. Most definitely. And then bottom left with overall operating fund balance, I'll end there. That is trending down as it always does this time of year. We are utilizing those fund balances currently before we start receiving tax revenue toward the end of the calendar year. So you'll continue to see those fund balances trend downward. Certainly next month when they'll hit pretty close to their low point. Next month and into November, and then we'll start trending upward significantly through the end of November, through December and January. Any questions on the revenue and expense report?
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the investment report. Not a lot to highlight on the investment report in terms of things that are happening at the top of the page. As I mentioned last month, we are in a position right now where we are not moving a lot of our investments. Nothing matures until the start of 2026. I will just note on the UBS investment side, and I can't take credit for this, but I will certainly give credit to UBS and then Mr. Holder, my predecessor in this position. So we are moving into a situation where we are likely going to see another rate decrease from the federal level. It's very likely we'll see that. We don't have any callable securities right now, meaning nothing on that list that you see there, other than I believe a CD that matures in 2028 for about $240,000 can be called early, which means we're gonna continue to see those rates even through some decreases. Usually when you see some rate decreases, investors will want to go ahead and call those early and then reinvest them at a different rate. So we are in a good position right now in terms of our long-term investments. And those UBS investments are our longer-term investments at the top. In terms of MOSIP, MOCAT, we are starting to see some rate decreases, and we'll continue to see some rate decreases moving forward, both on the MOCAT side and MOSIP side. You'll notice MOSIP already dropped to about 4.18. MOCAT has dropped since this report, so they'll both continue to drop their liquid rates. That is going to happen. We know that's going to happen as rates drop. And then in our bond side, we've got money invested both in term and liquid there. We got a little over $111 million invested right now, which is a good place to be with our bond funds that are invested and our overall operating funds that are invested as well. Any questions on the investment report?
Nope, none here. Thanks.
All right, the last document and last part of the finance portion of this meeting is the balance sheet. And I won't highlight a lot here because this is just a continuation of the revenue and expense report. But I will say, and so it's a couple at the bottom, capital projects fund, if you go to the very bottom of capital projects, you'll notice that that fund balance is significantly lower than it was last month. And that is to be expected. There's a good likelihood that we're going to see that fund balance go into the negative here relatively soon because we are going to continue to expense out of that. And we will have revenue that comes into that later as we receive tax dollars and then some of our M&M dollars as well that come later. So that fund will continue to trend downward, and that is okay. That is expected. The same is true of nutrition services. That fund will continue to trend downward. It is expected right now, and as you said earlier, we have a Pratt that's looking to address some of those issues. But overall, that is the balance sheet for the month ending in September. Any questions?
None here. Thanks.
Okay. Thank
Thank you,
you. That
Doctor.
concludes the finance portion.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Herzog. Moving on to section 3, future agenda items. Just as a reminder to our board, this list is provided just as an awareness of what the administrative staff and staff of the district are working on to bring forward in the coming months. And so you'll see a variety of things on here, anywhere from curriculum instruction items, as well as capital projects, items related to capital projects. So if there are ever any questions about any items that we're working on that are listed here, please do not hesitate. You can see the project manager listed, and feel free to reach out to those individuals. Are there any questions about any items that are on this list?
Not yet. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Well, that concludes our Finance Committee meeting for today. Thank you. If there are ever any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you.